And we are back for another casual conversation with the classic. I am back. It's been a while, but we got a really great interview coming up, a great conversation, long overdue, with none other than the gorgeous, the great, the full of energy CJ Perry, aka Lana, or formerly known as Lana, the Ravishing Russian. What's up?
Hi. Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm here. Thanks for having me. It's only
So
been
did
a
you
year.
know? Did you know that you unblocked me last year? Shout out to Jenn Sterger. You unblocked me last year on June 22nd. It's been like almost a year that we've been trying to do this. I just checked as I was waiting for you, and it was June 22nd that we started talking, and you unblocked me, and you specifically said I probably was on my period and was blocking the world and suplexing people out of rage. But we finally made it here. We're finally on the show.
We did it. I
We did
know.
it.
I can't believe I didn't even know I blocked you. You probably like said something that pissed me off that day.
Oh, I did. I know exactly what I did. We'll touch on that a little bit later. We'll keep people in suspense of why you blocked me. I was stupid, dumb, immature, and 22 years old. Probably not an excuse, but still really dumb. But honestly, since we started talking to each other and we've been cool with each other, you've been everywhere. You were on the Surreal Life. You've been to wrestling events. You were in Puerto Rico, WrestleMania. You've been to fashion weeks in New York and Paris. You were at Stagecoach, Coachella. You've been everywhere, but on the show. But you're here now.
I'm here. Oh my gosh. I know.
I want to throw this at you. What did you enjoy more, Coachella or Stagecoach?
I would say Coachella.
Really?
Sure.
Why is that?
Well, I feel like the first week of Coachella is really great because so many people in the industry go. So it's kind of there's plenty of people that I didn't see for a year. And the last time I saw them was at Coachella. So that's like really cool. It's just like a reunion. And then you also get to meet a bunch of people. And I also went with Laura, Lee, and Manny MUA. I did Surreal Life with Manny.
Yeah.
And that's how we became besties. And so I met Laura, who is his best friend, last year at Coachella, and we're kindred spirits. So we had a blast this year, and I'm always meeting new people, and it's a lot of industry people. Like I walk up to the bar and like Jason Momoa's there, no big deal. Leo's over there, it's like fine, no big deal. I was like looking for Rihanna. Where's Rihanna?
So out of your experience, you had a better experience at Coachella, but you would also recommend that if you had to pick between the two, probably Coachella?
I would definitely pick. I mean, I love country music, so Stagecoach is great. But if you don't like country music, then definitely Coachella because you have everything at Coachella. You have pop, you have house, you have hip hop, R&B. You have Frank Ocean.
You had Frank Ocean the first week.
That.
Would you would recommend the first week more than the second week? Because it seems like, I don't know, I always feel like, even myself watching, I was like, I haven't been to Coachella. It's one of those things I want to knock off my bucket list of things I have never done that I haven't done yet. I always said I wanted to go in my 20s, but that ship has sailed. Still want to go.
For me, I never made it in my 20s. I was either broke, or then once I was making money that I could afford to go, I was always working. So, better late than never.
I completely can relate fully to that. So hopefully I go soon enough. But I always was wondering, because I'm like, I always feel like there's so much hype the first week, and then the second week, like, it's still like there's still people posting and there's a little bit of hype around, but it's nothing like that first week.
Well, I would say, so last year I went 2 weekends in a row. I went both weekends because I really wanted to go the first weekend because everyone's like, go the first weekend. And I'm so glad I did. But the second weekend I went with a brand, Shein, and I had artist passes and they really hooked me up. And that was an amazing experience. I would say it's a little less busy the second weekend, and really more the like people that are coming for the music come the second weekend. Well, the first weekend you have a ton of influencers, a ton of celebrities that go. And if you're in the VIP section, it doesn't matter if you're the have artist passes, or if you're Justin Bieber or you're Leo. If you want a drink, you have to still go to the VIP area. So it's just like this cool thing that, I get excited about that type of stuff.
I'm making mental notes for myself, but I guess, what you're saying is it depends what you're going there for and what experience you want. Both weekends are good, but two totally different experiences. Another thing I want to ask you about, because we did bring it up really briefly, and we'll take it way back for a second. Your relationship with Jenn Sterger was way back. When she told me how you guys knew each other and you guys were roommates in college and the whole ties to football, you want to give the people a little bit of knowledge about that, because that's crazy.
Oh my God.
You guys were like celebrities before you were celebrities.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Jenn, so the crazy story is that I was I think I just turned 18, and she popped off in 2005 when Brett, what's his last name? Something with an M. He was a famous
singer. Murphy? Some famous Brett. Some famous Brett. There.
I might be actually saying the complete wrong name. It might be Brad. I don't know.
There was someone that was famous that knew Jenn.
There was a famous he's a newscaster, a news report, like commentator. So this guy, a famous commentator who was watching the FSU game, basically when they cut to Jenn, she was in a Seminole bikini and a cowboy hat and Daisy Dukes. It cut to her and her girlfriends, and he said, well, I guess 17,000 high school kids just signed up to go to FSU. And she blew up. Like, it went viral like that. People literally started like adding her on Facebook. I think it was like 100,000 people added her on Facebook. She couldn't even, and you could only have 5,000 max at the time.
Yeah.
So, this is like Facebook just started a couple months before. And so it was like crazy. She's just going viral all over the place, on all the essentially dirt sheets for sports and, football. And so I didn't really watch football. I mean, I was there for the tailgate somewhere, probably drinking, and the actual game I wasn't really paying attention to. So next thing you know, all the boys, all the B-boys, because I breakdanced at the time. So everyone that was breakdancing, I was the only girl. I was the only girl. And all of them are around the computer. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, this chick is not real. And I'm like, what do you mean this chick is not real? And it's like her. It's just like a little crop top of her, like looking all hot. And they're like, this girl is not real. She doesn't exist. This is the hottest girl I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, I want to do that. And they all bust out laughing. They're like, you will never be able to do that. There's you, and then there's her, and you'll never be her. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So next thing you know, I like hit her up, and I'm like, I would love to can you mentor me?
I think this is I know we don't have that much time to talk to you, but I think that's going to be like a trending thing about your story of wanting to do something and just reaching out to someone and being like, so how do I do this?
I was just this little girl, fresh off the boat from Mother Russia, I had black hair, had bad extensions. I didn't know how to curl my hair. I didn't know how to put makeup on. And she legit taught me everything. She taught me how to do self-tanner, how to curl my hair, how to do makeup. The first time I ever started working out in the gym, besides because I was a dance major. So I just danced. I didn't go to the gym. And she was winning all these bikini contests. She got me working, got hired in the clubs because no one would even look at me. And so she really helped me a lot. I became an FSU cowgirl with her. I got into modeling because of her. I think 2006, I was the most downloaded screensaver on all basically flip phones for college students. So that was really cool. That came because of her. And
knock in the face to those guys that said you couldn't do it.
Exactly. I threw that into their face all the time. I was like, see. So it was really cool. I won a bunch of bikini contests. I got this huge calendar cover and spread. And actually that was the first time WWE approached me from that calendar to see if I wanted to come to WWE and be a part of it. And they wanted to sign me then. And I was 21, I think, but I was a professional dancer at the time. I really wanted to still pursue my dreams in dance. And so I wanted to finish college. So I went on to doing that and still came full circle. And I'm so glad I took that journey because I think I would have always wanted to leave WWE sooner to go finish my dance dreams. And I also don't know if I would have been as good of an actor and done the Russian accent ever. I was really able to cultivate my skill set in those next couple of years before I got signed.
I'm starting to believe just generally in life that you're always exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think people don't realize that you ever stress about wanting certain things, but things happen the way they're supposed to happen. All of this wrestling classic stuff for me was an accident to an extent. So like things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And I think that's exactly what happened. Because if you, like I said, I wish we can talk a little bit longer because your journey is insane. From breakdancing to an FSU girl to acting, being in Pitch Perfect, which we're probably not even going to talk about today, to like the wrestling stuff. The fact that you're actually from Russia, which when I ask people what I should ask you, a lot of them were like, ask her how she felt about like playing a Russian character and if she was into doing. I'm like, a lot of these people don't realize like you're Russian, like it wasn't fully a character. But it's crazy because your journey, I wish we can talk about your journey more, and I think we'll do that sometime in the future. But shout out to Jenn Sterger and everything she helped you with. She's also the reason you unblocked me, because I saw you guys were hanging out one day and I jokingly messaged her, and I was drinking myself, so a little buzz, and I jokingly messaged her and I was like, yo, tell CJ to unblock me, haha, JK. And she's like, wait, do you actually want me to tell her? I'm like, no, don't. And then she's like, no, I'll tell her. So that's great.
That is hilarious. And then like instantly we hit it off. I was like, you're so nice. I can't believe I've ever blocked you. I felt awful.
I'm an idiot, so it's justifiable. Moving forward though, you were just in Puerto Rico for Backlash. I want to know about your experience there. What is it like still being around the WWE atmosphere? How was Puerto Rico? Because that was like the first major pay-per-view in Puerto Rico, and as a fan on our end, like we loved it. Like the crowd was insane. That's probably like it's always great when WWE goes overseas or other places, because I feel like the crowd just appreciates it a little bit more because they're a lot more hungry for it. And that felt like the vibe in Puerto Rico. So how was that?
Oh my God, it was phenomenal. Like, first of all, Puerto Rico, wow, I'm gonna buy a place there. Like that is, I'm not even kidding. I was like texting Miro. I'm like, I'm buying an apartment here on the beach because it's just so beautiful. And, you know, I actually discovered it is a part of the United States. I kept on being like, sorry, I'm from the United States. And Liv is like dying laughing because I stayed with Liv, and Liv is like, not, she's like, CJ, we are in the United States. I'm like, oh, okay. Just like, wow, like my blonde is showing. So I like, wow. So yeah, it's the people are so wonderful. The people are so nice. It's just the vibe and the atmosphere of the island is just happy and just love life, and the beaches are gorgeous, and you know, Bad Bunny music everywhere, which I love Bad Bunny music. So I'm like dancing everywhere I go. And I actually ended up staying like after the pay-per-view like 3 or 4 more days. So kept on changing my ticket. I'm like, I'm staying longer. So it was phenomenal. It's so beautiful. The fans, the crowd, oh my gosh. Like
insane.
Holy crap. I was on I sat in the second row, and my really good friend Jonathan Saba, who we're actually starting a podcast with. And it is about, I don't want to give too much, but it's basically falling in love with wrestling again, and falling in love with like the things you love. And for us, it's wrestling. I love wrestling. He's a childhood fan. And, you know, we start like, I went to SummerSlam last year and I brought him. It was in Nashville. Yeah. So we've been going to all these events together. Like we went to the Rumble together, we went to Mania together, and then Puerto Rico. And at first he wasn't even going to go to Puerto Rico. And like Liv starts sending him these messages in the group text, like, you have to go. And he's like friends with the social media and Damian Priest and like all these other people. And so he literally bought a ticket Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, took a red eye, and he was there with us. And because we're going to be talking about all these experiences that we have at the shows on the podcast, and we're going to do, so we're super excited about that.
I don't want to spoil your podcast, but let me ask you this then, because I've always heard this from people that I've like, you know, got to know over the years and whatnot, is, you know, sometimes like, so when did you, like, you've been a lifelong fan of wrestling. Like, when did you first start watching wrestling? When did you become a fan of wrestling?
So that's the really interesting dynamic that me and him have as well, because I was a very, very, I don't even know I can say casual fan. Like I knew what professional wrestling was. Because I knew Hulk Hogan and I knew Jake the Snake, because all my girlfriends, when I was like 5 years old, their brothers were watching wrestling. And I was always like, who is this scary man with a snake? You know, I was scared. And, you know, I would watch it with their brothers, and they're like going through tables and they're really oiled up. And I'm like, wait, how are they doing that? Why do they have all this like wet, oily hair? And my dad loved Hogan because he said he prayed. my dad was a minister. So
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
we
For
love
your
home
parents, eat your
right in
vitamins.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was about like all I knew because my parents were very strict with me. I was not allowed to watch pretty much anything.
Mm.
Like I was allowed to watch like Sesame Street and Roger Rabbit. I mean, not
What?
Roger Rabbit. Roger, what was that show?
Bugs
Roger,
Bunny?
no,
Mr. Rogers? It's a
that's
wonderful day in the neighborhood. A wonderful that guy? Okay. I mean, Roger Rabbit was pretty bad too once you saw that Jessica lady. I don't...
Yeah, no, that definitely, I was not allowed to watch that. Are you kidding me? That was no. So they were like, I mean, imagine like the Attitude Era, like where they're
Yeah.
having like, striptease matches
No,
and mud.
100%.
Absolutely not. Like my mother was so strict with what we were allowed to watch. So that's why I was really excited too when I started in WWE when it was the PG era because my parents were so supportive of it. But yeah, I became a fan. Again, I got reintroduced when they asked me when they were trying to recruit me, and I guess it was like 2008 or 9. I went to the show. They were trying to recruit me. I was still in college, and I was blown away. Like I was just like, this is so cool. I really want to do it, but I just had my goals set, and I knew what I needed to finish before I could like transition into anything else. And but then I got ironically enough, every single year in the fall, they have these tryouts and auditions in LA, and they would be trying to get me to come in and audition. And I would be on other jobs, like Nickelodeon jobs, or I was dancing with Pink. So I could never get there. In 2012, they did
When
that.
you keep saying these like little small tidbits of other things you did, and I was like, what? I was at a Nickelodeon job, or I was dancing with Pink. I used to be a break dancer.
I know, it's crazy. I feel like I've had at least 9 lives, to be honest. So like, I
It
don't even
seems
know.
like it. It seems
Yeah,
like it. Well, the
it's only
second question, I don't want to drop, but the second question I was going to ask you about all this, because okay, so you are a fan of wrestling. You've been a fan for like,
yeah.
whether
Well, I
casual
became
or
a fan,
in.
like for sure. Once I started auditioning
Yeah.
for it, I like just because I'm so dedicated to what I do, and I feel like that's a part of the job. Like if you have an audition, the first thing you do is you start doing the research on who's executives, who's the writer, what everything. That's your job as a dancer, an actor, a performer, storyteller. Like use Google and do your research. So
Yeah.
I had done so much research, and immediately Miss Elizabeth was one of my favorites, which is just so funny to me now, a decade later, because I was like, oh my God, I want to be like her. And then I saw Paul Heyman. I'm like, oh my God, I love Paul Heyman. That's what I want to be like. That's what I want to do. It wasn't Trish Stratus. It wasn't Lita. It was these characters. Like I connected to Heyman immediately. And I know that sometimes people are like, oh, you're obsessed with Paul Heyman. It was like, that's why I wanted to get into professional wrestling. Like I wanted to be this mouthpiece, this like, yeah. So
like you wanted to, like, did you manifest that you were gonna be like this manager?
When I say like, yeah, in theory, I was like, yeah, I want to be champion. Like, I guess everyone wants to be champion, but then I was like, no, I was more interested in the Stephanie McMahon characters and the Vicky Guerreros and Paul Heyman and Miss Elizabeth. Like, I wanted to look like Miss Elizabeth, but be the mind of Paul Heyman. And
yeah.
I
was gonna say, as a fan and a friend, I want to say this, and I mean this like with all sincerity. I think when you were post managing Rusev and being his manager, when you were finding yourself and you were doing the dancing gimmick, there's many factors in play. Obviously, there's a bunch of cooks in that kitchen at WWE, but it seemed like you were finding yourself when you were doing that. But man, when you were the ravishing Russian and you were managing him, you had it. Like you were spot on. Like you were like, it's like you knew what you were doing then, and like there was nothing to find. Like you figured it out.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. The Russian character was always one of my favorites. I'm always like, I want to play a Russian character. And I would say I definitely manifested the Russian thing because I had a vision board and said Russian with lust. I'm going to play this Russian character. And 6 months later, that's what I was doing. So that was really cool. This in WWE, it's, you know who the boss is. And the thing about it doesn't matter if it's AEW, if it's WWE, if it's the Disney Channel, if it's Paramount, like you have executives, you have directors, and you have producers, and we're just hired talent. So until we're bringing financing to the movies or bringing financing to WWE, we're literally hired talent. So I just went, okay, like I'll never forget Vince brought me into his office. It was like early 2015. And he brought me into his office with Miro, and he was like, I really want you to be training in wrestling. I'm like, I am. And
Yeah.
he's like, I really want you to wrestle. And I'm like, well, I think I do this much better. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
are you sure you want me to wrestle? Because all these other women are incredible. And it takes 10,000 hours to become great at something, to master a skill. Yeah. 10,000 hours. So I'm like, that's going to take at least 8 years. And right now I'm doing something that no one else can do. So why don't I just cultivate that and become the best? And he was like, no, I want you to do this. And so I was like, okay, you're the director and you write my bill. So I'm going to try to do it to the best of my ability. And that's
And I think you were progressively getting better all the time. I just think the opportunities sometimes were lacking. I mean, on your way out, we saw some crazy. You were the sole survivor at Survivor Series. So it's not like all the opportunities are lacking. I'm not saying that. You had that whole angle with Nia where you're getting put to the table. Was there a plan for that, or was that just like a thing?
That was coincidence that turned into a story. It was all very coincidence of me going through the table the first time because Vince thought it would be funny. Like, so I always wanted to go through a table, like for literally 5-6 years. And Miro didn't want me to wrestle. Miro didn't want me to be a Money in the Bank. Miro every time shut the tables down. He's like, no, I don't want you to die. And I'm like, okay. So of course he's not there to stop it, which I was so excited. And Vince thought I was a heel at the time. I was tagging with Natty, coming off the Bobby Lashley story. And Vince is like, I really want to get Nia Jax over. Like he thought this was going to get her over as a babyface. And so he's like,
you threw a table?
Yeah. He was like, this will be so funny. She's so hated. And so then I was giddy about it. I was so excited. And then he thought it was even funnier that I was so excited about going through the table. People thought I was insane. But I'm like, oh my God. And the following week, they were going to just put, I think they were going to put Liv through the table. But then Vince was like, you know what? Then wasn't it Lana's dream to go through a table? And TJ Wilson was like, yep. He's like, okay, let's put her through a table again. And ironically, that first time that I went through the table was when Miro said you can shove that brass ring up your ass on AEW. And so I love our fans. They thought I was being punished. And it just started to that turned. And next thing you know, the third week, Bruce Pritchard and Vince are like, we think we're going to maybe turn you a babyface. Like, we feel like there's a story here. And next thing you know, it just kept on going and going. I put out like a YouTube vlog where I was with Natty just being more CJ. We kind of did, I don't know, acted, kind of, did something. And people are like, we think you could be a babyface. You have it in you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm an actress. Thank you for remembering. I'm actually hired here because of acting and not because of my amazing wrestling skills. So thank you.
I do want to take it back a second because you did bring him up, and I'm curious, what is the greatest piece of advice you might have ever gotten from Paul Heyman, since he's someone you look up to, and I know you got to spend a lot of time with him. Yes. So, what is a piece of advice that? Because I think he's one of the greatest minds in professional wrestling.
Oh my God.
So what's a word of advice that Paul Heyman gave you that still sticks with you today that might not even just attribute to your wrestling career, but just life now?
Yeah, totally. Oh gosh, he's given so many nuggets of awesomeness. He, from the very beginning, said, no matter what they give you, even if it's only 30 seconds, grab the brass ring. No matter where it is, if it's on Facebook for Mixed Match Challenge, if it's just a promo for 30 seconds introduction, whatever it is, he's like, literally own it like it's WrestleMania. And I did that. And I think it's what gave me the right attitude for pretty much everything. And then also the excitement. And I take that with life. Make every opportunity is a chance for more opportunities. And we should be grateful for anything that we're given, especially in entertainment business. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are so talented and beautiful and deserve that spot. So I'm honored whenever I get an opportunity to do this for a living.
Yeah, and making the most out of whatever opportunity or moment you get. And I think that is something, that is a piece of advice you can carry on to anything else you do. And I'm sure you do with everything else you do, whether it's modeling, whether it's acting, whether it's just performing somewhere. That's dope. What was more awkward, the Lashley storyline or the Ziggler storyline?
Well, the Dolph storyline was I actually had to practice kissing Dolph in front of Vince, Johnny Ace, and Miro. And
Yeah,
so that was like really awkward, especially the first time, because I'm
yeah,
like, Miro's turning red. I'm like, what is happening? So that was a little strange, but I will say, like, Vince and Johnny made it like very comfortable. Like Vince was just like, look, we're professionals. Like this is, and
yeah.
so like that, it's like, yeah, we are professionals. We're storytellers, and people specifically in wrestling forget that. Like they get a little confused and start to think it's real. I
100%.
mean, oh my God, it said
Yeah.
those words. Like, yes, it
Sometimes
is
I think people forget that it's a television show too.
exactly. And like
Yeah.
it is a combat sport. Things happen. Like the hits are for real hits, but it's predetermined storylines. It is a television show. So like Vince would always be like, you can't just fight for the title. And it's
Yeah.
true. Like you only have so many titles. So if that means I need to like do a story about relationship and heartbreak and love and revenge, like I want to tell those stories because one, I relate to it throughout
Yeah.
my life. Two, most women relate to that and men. And also like that's the type of stuff I love on television. That's why I watch Grey's Anatomy still.
No, 100%. And I also think there's something to be said for someone that can still be part of a storyline that's outside of the title picture on a wrestling show and still be very important and people are tuned into it and invested in it. And I think sometimes people forget its story. And I think sometimes people forget that it's, as real as it is, because it is very real. Like you said, the bumps, the athleticism, the pain, the combat part of it is very real. But it's still a TV show. There's not people following people around. There's not, the bloodline isn't not aware that there's a cameraman in their room when they're filming that backstage segment. You know what I mean? Like, I think people forget about that part, right? Like,
So funny to me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's interesting because like people got a lot of like me and Miro got a lot of hate and about the Dolph story, all like Dolph did too. And some are like, Rolling Stone said we're the worst story of the year in 2015, even though we were like the most watched YouTube of the year. It's like all these crazy things that were just like, you guys are haters. Like they didn't hate on Otis and Mandy, doing that storyline. And it was just because me and Miro were together in real life. But people don't go watch like Revenge or Grey's Anatomy. And when people are together in real life and then they have different couples together and they're on the same show, people aren't hating on it. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. That's the one thing about the wrestling fan base. I wish they would appreciate more and like not hate on it, but more being like, oh, this is an entertaining storyline. I mean, it's professional wrestling at the end of the day. We're not doing like based on a real life story right now, from 50 years ago. It's like, it's supposed to be fun. It's
No,
not
100%. You're supposed to suspend your disbelief and enjoy this show.
yeah.
The Liv storyline, was there any creative plan for that in the long run, or what happened there?
I don't think so. I think that, I mean, there's
You
a
were
lot of,
in love with her, quote unquote. That was how it started.
yeah, I think no one exactly has told me ever anything, but I'm just going to go off of like my instinct of what I think it was. I think that it was a wedding and they wanted to bring Liv back, and what great, like, that's a good splash to bring back. And I think I actually really like that Paul, like this was Paul's Heyman's idea.
Yeah.
And I really like that Paul decided to bring a girl versus a guy, because I could have had another guy. And I just think that was done so many times. So I thought that was a lot more interesting that it was a girl that was coming, and like the twist. I love twists. Like I live for that. And when I'm watching television shows, and I think it's going to be one thing. So Liv's coming out there, like the misdirection. I love misdirection. So Liv's coming out there and you think it's going to be about Bobby Lashley and it's about me. Like I live for that on scripted television. So I think that was a part. And then I don't know if there was, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't know. I feel that they wanted to like pay it off, but I always wonder if, let's say, Miro would have made suggestions of like her to be his girlfriend, if like it would have led to more. But Miro didn't want to do that. Miro Miro, this is where Miro's really, I think, awesome, is that he commits to being so evil when he's a bad guy. And he will say the worst things, he will commit. But when he's a baby face, he wants to be a role model. So I remember Vince told him to be like, call me a bitch, be like, you bitch, you slut. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. He's like, because I don't want to, I'm a baby face and I don't want to have these boys start treating women like that. And I think that's very like, wow, like I would have been saying, you bitch, I go for the freaking pop. But and I just think that's super admirable. He didn't want to come out there with like 5 women because Vince was like, why don't you bring like 5 women? He's like, no. And I think that's cool. But this is professional wrestling and they love going for that type of stuff. I've never been called so many sluts in my life, like the top guys called me in WWE.
Did you expect when you got into the wrestling business that you were gonna like find the love of your life in your husband? Like, what was that like? How did that? So did they pair you guys up first, right? They paired you guys up first, and then it started. Like, how did you guys first realize that there was something there?
I mean, I met him the first day and everyone was really mean to me. He was one of the few nice people. It was like him, Mojo, and Baron Corbin who were nice to me. and my roommates. And we just instantly became friends because of Eastern Europe. And so we instantly had that connection and he was very nice. We went to church together. And by the 3rd day, Dusty Rhodes wanted me to work with him. So I was like, we gotta work. We gotta, I was just such a workaholic. So he, the only way he could spend time with me was like shooting promos. And so that's just like a friendship grew. And at one point I started to have a crush on him. But I was like, I just want to be friends. And so we grew like it went like that, because I didn't want to just like date. I date where I worked. Throughout most of my career in entertainment, I always dated outside of where I work because it's like, I don't want to, if it doesn't work out, I don't want to see you. So I took it slow, but then, we were inseparable way before we started dating, to be honest.
That's cool. I was curious. I'm like, it's an interesting story how that happens, especially in the wrestling business where a lot of people that are on the road together, they usually end up marrying or dating someone that's also in that same business. And it just seems like, I don't know if it's easier or if it's just that common thing you guys have and something you can talk about.
Well, I think for women specifically, for men, it's a little easier. You can do both. But for women, I think this is like on the average, but I think it is hard for men outside of wrestling to date a woman that is gone 300 days of the year, is making her own money, around all these like jack guys. I think it's a little harder for men. And so I think that's why they end up dating with them.
And what you're also saying is being nice is not the worst thing in the world. Nice guys don't always finish last. I guess you're saying with this whole Miro situation.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Nice. I mean, honestly, that's the truth is with Miro.
You're gonna make a lot of wrestling fans really happy right now. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, Miro was such a nice guy, and I always knew I never wanted to marry the bad boy. That's too much drama. I can't. I need a good man.
So like, I know you've like jokingly hinted about it or talked about it on your social media, but like, and it was like a whole storyline on Total Divas, but are you wanting to have children one day?
Oh my God. Yeah. I've been trying to have kids probably for like 3 or 4 years. So if it happens, I mean, I hope it happens, but maybe it's not in my cards. So I can only keep on hoping,
but
I mean, I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. So
fair enough. I'm going to rewind fully back to the question I was going to ask you about Backlash initially before we went down your whole journey there for a second. Does being around in Puerto Rico around AEW events, does it make you miss wrestling at all, or is your focus somewhere else right now? And I know you put that TikTok up today about everyone asking you about if you join AEW, WWE. I know anytime Miro even mentions a woman in any of his promos, everyone immediately thinks it's you and she's coming. I don't know if he does that on purpose or not, but it gets everybody riled. Where's your headspace? Like, are you okay being? Because one of the other things I want to ask is like, I've always heard, like I said, through all the relationships I made up through the years of wrestlers and people in the industry I've gotten to know and talk to, and them giving me advice, I always get the story of like, when you're in it, it's really hard to be a fan. But then when you back out of it again, you can be a fan again, and it's easier to be a fan again. Are you enjoying the idea of being a fan again, or is there still part of you that's like, I want to kind of be in it? Like,
It's everything. I had to take a year off from watching wrestling. I actually didn't go to any shows for a year. And the first show that I went back to was at the Forum, Hero Return, June 1st. And it was literally a year. And it's like my release. And I'm so glad I did. It was amazing. And that's why I started going to shows. I started that last summer going to AEW shows. And when SummerSlam came to Nashville, and I realized when I started going to AEW shows that how much I missed it. Like I missed wrestling. That's why I couldn't watch it. Like I missed it so much. Like I missed the fans, and like right before the fans back, I got released. Like
Yeah.
2 weeks before,
Yeah.
3 weeks before. So it was like my heart was literally crushed because I was like, that's why what's all the craziness, all the politics, all the travel. When you go out there and you connect with the fans, there's nothing like it in the world. And it's like the biggest adrenaline high. And I love her fans so much. I love storytelling and entertaining. And so it was like really hard for me. And I was just trying to focus on other things. Like I had all these goals I wanted to do. So I was like, focus. And then when I went to the AEW shows, I was like, man, I just want to be in the arena. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, Kevin Dunn, put me in the truck. Then at AEW, hire me. Like, let me be in the truck. Like, I just wanted to be there. Like, let me be a writer. Let me be digital. Like, I need to like shoot someone's TikToks. Like, let me just be there. And then, because it's just the adrenaline rush and just being there, like energy for the fans and I just love wrestling so much. So I was curious how it would be at WWE, and at SummerSlam, I I was like, I love this. So of course I want to go back. Of course, I love the return, and I don't know either AEW with Miro or do something in WWE. Maybe be on the opposite of Paul Heyman, or maybe be Paul Heyman's assistant. I don't know.
Oh, you're open to it, but it's not like you're open to it. You're open to it. You're open to go wherever.
Oh, I mean, I'm open.
If the stars will align.
Yeah, I don't put anything in a box. I think at one point I was very much like I only want to go to AEW because I wanted to be with Miro. But I at this point I don't put anything in the box. A lot of my friends are at WWE, like super really close friends, and AEW's great. Miro's there, and I love the return and do something wrestling. But if not, I love going as a fan. Like I love it. I can get drunk off of spicy mushrooms.
100%. That's what I've always heard. Like once you get out of it, like you're grateful to be a fan again and be able to watch it with your lenses. But then eventually, as time goes on, that bug comes back. You're like, oh, but I do kind of want to get back a part of it all.
But honestly, I would when I'm not even joking when I'm like I would love to work in the truck. Like if I could if Kevin Dunn or Mansouri at the AEW could mentor me and I could learn the production side of things because I love producing and I just want to be telling stories for the rest of my life. And that might mean not in front of the camera.
No, 100%. I think that happens with a lot of artist kind of people too, where they love being in front of the camera for so long and they get all these reps and they do all this stuff. Then eventually you're kind of just like, can I somehow be behind the camera and help everybody else do this? Because I know how to do this now, but I just want to be on the camera. I think that happens with artists all the time, whether you're an actor, they want to become screenwriters and producers and directors, whether you're a singer, next thing you want to produce people's music, you're an influencer,
Totally.
behind the scene to help other people with their products and what they're doing. It becomes like this. I think it's like an artist thing. Like eventually, like you want to be like you first say like I want to be on the camera. Next thing you want to like make the art. Like it's more creative.
Yeah. And I learned so much from Road Dogg. Like I am well, like which has helped me so much in film and television because it taught me production side of telling stories on TV. And I mean, was like the greatest university I could throw at. So I'm so thankful. And then, if they ever want like a woman in the truck or a woman helping run their TikTok and YouTube and WWE or Bruce needs an assistant, I'm ready.
If it was an on-screen role, would you want to return more as that managerial Miss Elizabeth Paul Heyman role as like a personality on the screen, or would you want to return as a wrestler back in the ring and try that out again?
Paul Heyman.
Okay.
The Paul Heyman throne. One of these. I'm going to keep on saying that till it happens. No, I mean, look, of course, like if I was genetically superior than everyone else, yeah, but like I want to be on it and I want to be, and so I want to, at this point in my life, I don't want to try everything. I know what I could. I'm going to cultivate it. I know I have an eye for talent. I know I can help write stories. I'm a great storyteller, I'm a promoter, salesperson, and so let me be that manager. Like I can promote them, I can teach them, I can promote them storylines, I can talk to YouTube, Instagram, like in the modern day.
I feel like we have something very in common there. Well, like I love the in-ring stuff. Like I have my favorite matches. I enjoy good wrestling matches as much as the next person. But I find that I enjoy a wrestling match more when I'm invested in the characters and the stories. And I'm such a character story driven I think that's why I love music and movies and books and wrestling in the first place. I love the stories.
Yeah.
Like the thing you find that you love the most about professional wrestling is the stories and the characters.
Oh my God. Absolutely. I mean, it's universe.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's
the wrestling's great, but I feel like the wrestling means more when you're invested in the characters and stories.
Yes.
Wrestling to work, like to really work and have you drawn into it, like you really need to be invested in a character or a storyline. You might not think two people are the greatest wrestlers, but man, if you're into their storyline, you're watching their match. And I think that means a little bit more. And I feel like that's
yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually ironically just reading something the other day about storytelling. And it's if you want to connect with humans, always tell a story. And it doesn't matter where it's at because it actually releases oxytocin in our brain. Where it is?
Oxytocin? Yeah, we Google it, yeah. But
So so that's so interesting because I read that and then I saw TikTok actually says that when they talk about the creators, they're like have a story.
Second act, third act for TikTok. And then I was talking to a girl today, like who is a digital manager, and she does a ton, runs all these like for top TikTok creators. And she's like, yeah, you have to tell a story. She's like, that TikTok didn't tell a story. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Like I am a storyteller.
Life is about the stories, though. Like I feel like, and I like we talked about briefly, but like my dad just passed away, so I went through a lot of like creating a slideshow and doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, and it always reiterated back to like what I always was, what I believe in. And I'm like, for the most part, when it comes to your life, yes, people will remember kind of what you did or what you had or whatever, right? But they know how you impacted their lives and then your stories. And life's about the stories. You gotta have a bunch of stories. People remember the stories. They'll be like, remember that one time this happened? Remember when that? Remember when they did that? And whether it's stupid or it's great, that's what they remember you for more than what you like. They'll be proud of you for what you've accomplished in your life. They'll think what you had was cool, but they'll remember you more sincerely because of the times you spent with them and the stories you guys shared together. And stories just matter in life overall, I think.
Yeah, no, oh my God, for sure.
But you got to go. So we're going to touch on like two more things before you leave. I feel like we can continue talking about this and do a whole other episode about storytelling and wrestling. What are you doing outside these days? What are you've been up to? Like I said, you've been everywhere. Every time I message you, you're either in Paris, you're in Bulgaria, you're in America, you're in New York, you're in LA, you're somewhere in Nashville. What is going on with CJ Perry? And of course, what's up? Like so you got the modeling stuff going on. You've obviously got acting stuff going on. You want the surreal life. We don't have enough time to dive into that, but that's also very super cool. What's going on with you?
Oh my God, so much. Subscribe to cjperry.com. That's going on. We might be jumping the OnlyFans of Miro Cruise one of these days. So stay tuned. But till then, subscribe to cjperry.com.
What can people expect on cjperry.com?
I mean, you can expect to get to know me better.
Mm-hmm.
You can expect all different types of things. You can expect, I guess there is a lot of OnlyFan content on there. So it would be like the substitution of that. Also, I'm going live a lot more on there, telling wrestling stories as well as anything and everything.
I feel like that's what makes yours stand out more than other people's, is because there is another aspect of, yes, it's like the content that people would expect, but it's also like you have depth in these other things about you that it gives the opportunity to the people that are subscribed to reach out to you and be like, hey, we'd love to hear about this. And you would actually be able to see it, because, you know, I'm not a celebrity by no means, but, you know, just even myself, you got thousands of people sliding in your DMs a day. I couldn't imagine what your DMs are like compared to mine, with the amount of people that are probably trying to slide in there and get your attention, or commenting and stuff and hoping to get your attention. If you really want to get CJ's attention, if you really want to ask her a question, if you really want to hear about a certain thing, if you want to ask some questions that I didn't ask today that you wish that I asked, go to cjperry.com, subscribe,
Yes.
and you have a better chance of her responding and answering your question, or sharing a specific story, maybe saying more than she's allowed to say on this podcast. So like, that's the way to do it. And then on top of all that, you get some spicy content.
Yes, exactly. And if you subscribe now, we're doing a special for this month that you get a signed 8x10 and also a cameo. So that's great. You can get a cameo and a free cameo. And if you subscribe, and assigned by 8x10. And yeah, I do respond to all the DMs. I respond to comments. It's just a way to connect more with people and all of my fans. I love you guys. As well as like, I just post a lot more content in general, like things that I will never post on Instagram because, you know, algorithms and et cetera, et cetera. So like things from tour, things from like, just a lot of things. Like
everything you're doing that I can never catch you. All the things that she's doing all the time.
Yeah, and things that I was doing like on the road that I couldn't post because we were like fighting or something, you know, like storyline. So it's just like a lot of really cool things.
Go subscribe, guys. Ask for some cool road stories. Go ask for some questions, whatever you guys want. Trust me, it's worth it all. I know there's a bunch of them out there, but it's kind of like a cool little way for you to stay connected with your fans at the end of the day, and you know, to get a little bit more CJ.
Yes, exactly. So I love that I have my site to be able to, it's been such a blessing to connect with people. And so please subscribe.
And it's a lot easier to do so. I mean, you have 3.9 million followers on Instagram. You're going to respond to every comment and every DM. Like, it's hard. So this is a way to give back to the people.
Totally. So that's happening. I'm starting a podcast, so stay tuned. I'm going to be in a couple movies this summer that I can't say yet, but that's super exciting. So there's that. Also producing. I've been segueing into that. So I'm producing a couple movies actually. And I'm very excited about. And also been moving into a manager role, like a real shoot manager. I essentially have managed my husband's career outside of wrestling. I'm about to spill some tea right now. So I hope everyone's really excited about this. So I was going to save it for cjperry.com.
We'll put it here.
Put it here, but go subscribe. And then me and Miro will talk about this on cjperry.com. So actually, like outside of wrestling, I help manage Miro's career from like, I guess from the 2014, you know, getting him theatrical agents, agencies, brand deals, starting his Instagram, starting his TikTok, helping him write storylines. You know, I was a big part of helping him write the TNT God's Favorite Champion storyline. Yeah, just I couldn't say that before because I was in WWE. So a big part of, you know, who he is. You know, I would say I'm Paul Heyman to the Brock Lesnar, who was Miro, the super athlete. So then last summer, there was a little moment that we had, and he fired me from being his manager. I can just tell you that didn't go over too well. And one of his, actually, Jody Christopherson, who was his roommate when we first started like hanging out and dating, he was there when it happened. And I basically was like, oh, let me go like do this for you. And like talk to Tony Khan, you know, blah, 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 you know, just hustling. That's what I do. I don't know anything else then hustle. Like I wasn't born at 15 pounds. I wasn't born extrally like strong and athletic. All I had was my freaking hustle to get it. Do whatever it takes. So he's like, stop hustling for me and go hustle for your own career. So I was like, really? Is that really? I don't know if you want to say that, but okay. So, we took a stop on that. And then I decided that I want to actually do this for more people, because I actually do think I do this very well. And I knew what I brought to the table. So I really was like, okay, I'm not going to run your Instagram. So that's why when people were talking about like, oh, CJ is hurting his AEW career, I'm like, actually, I have nothing to do with this. I have nothing. He's not on. I don't know why he's not on TV. I have no idea. Have nothing to do with it. And so I plead the fifth.
Yeah, actually fired me, to be honest.
Yeah, actually. Then
we have witnesses.
yeah. So then I just would segue, and I don't want to give the people's names yet of who I've been helping, and several people. And I
Are they
love
in
it.
the industry or out of the industry? Are they in a different industry?
And WWE and AEW.
Fair enough. That's all we need to know. That's really cool.
I love it. And I also because this business is kind of narcissistic, especially when you're a performer. It's about me. I want that opportunity. And this, I love it because it's like, no, I'm fighting for someone else's opportunity. And I'm a fighter and I'm a freedom warrior. So might be small, but so then ironically, our assistant, Miro, and my assistant, her husband is an AEW, and she and her husband asked me to manage him. And Miro, that's like one of his best friends, and he's like, why are you gonna manage him and not me? And I'm like, because you fired me. And so then he rehired me as of last month. So
well, there you go. Well,
And
congratulations. And there you go. Once again, you did something so upfront for yourself for so many years, being a hustler. And now you're like, I want to be behind the scene hustling for other people. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
I know how to get and hustle for what I want.
Yeah,
I'm totally good at that. And if you guys want the name, you got to go sign up to cjperry.com and she'll tell you.
Yeah, and I'll sit with Miro. We'll bring Jody in too, because it's actually a really funny story, especially the way Jody tells it. But to Miro, like the say something about Miro, he was very supportive of me managing all these people. He's always like, you're going to be like one of the most iconic managers on screen and off screen. And so, because he knows how I am. And so, yeah, I also was always like, okay, if I'm secretly their shoot manager, will that help me eventually segue into being their gimmick manager?
You have your own little stable of people that you manage, your own Heenan family or Dangerous Alliance, since you're Paul Heenan.
Exactly. So I've been really focusing on that, and I've been loving that.
I think everything you're doing is super dope. I'm extremely happy for you, whether it's the movies, the managing, the modeling, everything you do. You're doing a ton, and you're always grinding. The one thing no one can say is that even after you got released, maybe I missed it. Maybe you did like some time off for yourself. I just feel like you've always been grinding. I feel like you're just always doing something. There really hasn't been a pause. I mean, there's been times where you will hit me back up at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, why aren't you sleeping? You're like, I'm reading a script or something. Like, you are always grinding. I'm like,
it's true.
I genuinely find that admirable, and it makes me feel like I need to grind a little bit harder and hustle a little bit harder. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that means so much. Oh my God, that's such a compliment. Thank you.
I need a manager. Moving forward though. I know you have to go to a birthday party, so I'm just gonna do this last little thing and we'll wrap this up. I'm gonna drop some names at you. It's the old school word association thing. You give me either like a word or a couple of words of the person I say, anything you want to say about them. Nice comment about them or whatever. Just people that I think were interesting throughout your career. So first off, let's go with someone that has always been interesting when in terms it comes to Lana is Natalya.
Oh, I love Natalya. How am I supposed to give a short answer?
I mean, you love Natalya. There you go.
I love her. She's helped me so much. She's like my sister. Her and TJ have helped me so much, like brought me into their family, helped me with Total Divas, helped me learn how to wrestle, helped train me. I don't think I would have ever won Survivor Series or got any of the tables if it wasn't for TJ. And Natty, I'm so thankful. And I talk to Natty pretty much daily still.
Liv Morgan.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Liv. She's one of my best friends. Another one of my, like my sister, you know, and she's just so amazing. She's so kind. She's so empathetic, so forgiving. I'm always just so blown away by like her character as a person. And I love her. And she's, you know, been a big part. Both of these women have been a big part of my like post things in WWE. And I that's why I go to places like the Rumble and, you know, in Puerto Rico. And Liv like texted me and Johnny. She's like, are you guys, the guy I was telling you about who's co-hosting the podcast? She goes, hey, are you guys coming to London with me? I'm like,
it's almost like you're part of her entourage at this point. You're on the Liv more.
Like, I guess we are.
We've seen a couple of cool TikToks, so it seems like you guys are close. How about Damian Priest?
Oh, I love Damian Priest. He's amazing. We've developed a really good friendship, and yeah, I love to share more stuff about actually all three of those people. You know, it's ironic that you asked.
We're gonna have to do this again. If you like. We're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah,
Dolph Ziggler, because you guys obviously been in a bunch.
Oh my God, I love Dolph. Oh my God, Dolph. I love everyone. Oh my God. Honestly, Dolph is he's such a good friend of mine, and he like helped me so much in wrestling. Like, I learned how to sell from watching Dolph fight Miro like for 6 months straight. Like when I was with Dolph, like he was my on-screen boyfriend, I would just watch him sell. And so he really influenced the way I think, like I try to always emulate. He's just so good at selling. He's actually really good at everything. So I love him. We stay really good friends. Him and Miro are really good friends too. So it's really cool.
I could do so many more. I'm just gonna do 2 more and I'll wrap this up. Sheamus.
Oh my God, I love Sheamus too. Sheamus is amazing. He moved to Nashville, 8 houses down from us one time when Miro and him got drunk. Like I went to go get my nails done. We were staying at his house in Tampa, and the next thing you know, like they're hammered and buying houses. He's like, I bought a house. We took all these shots, and I just bought a house down the street from you. I'm like, wait, what? I was gone for 30 minutes. He's so great. I really love him.
The Bella Twins.
Oh my God, I love them. I love them so much. You know, they have been such a big part of like influencing my career as well. I got put on Total Divas because they were fighting for me to be on Total Divas and pitching for me to be put on Total Divas. My first wrestling match at WrestleMania was because Brie pitched me to Vince to fight me, and I got that opportunity with her. And they just have always been so kind and loving to me and bringing me in. I think because I grew up in a different country, I often struggle with like feeling apart, I always feel like an outsider. And so when I came on the main roster, everyone was very, very kind to me, and all the women were so loving, and you would hear all these horror stories. I didn't have that at all. And I think, you know, the Bellas really set that tone, and they were just always like brought me in and made me feel like their sister, which is really, really cool. And I treasure them. I look up to them. I think they're badasses.
Last but not least, I could ask you about so many more, but last but not least, Miro.
Oh, I love Miro. Oh, it drives me crazy at times, but I'm kidding.
No, I feel like you guys balance each other out.
Yeah.
I mean, like you guys are like the perfect, like you guys are very complementary to each other. There's you and then there's him. You're different, but you're the same. It's like fire and ice. I don't know.
No, I love Miro. I learned how to be a villain because of him. Like I don't think I wouldn't have had that success without him actually fighting out there. But also like I didn't know how to. I never even auditioned for a villain prior to that. And so I would always I just didn't understand the psychology behind it. And so he just like taught me, because that is all the characters were only like if you ask him what is his favorite characters in any movie, it's always a villain. You know,
he makes a really good villain.
He's incredible. Well, it's with Miro, it's the perfect storm. He was his body. He's from Bulgaria, which means, you know, Russia in this country.
Yeah.
And they don't know the difference.
Somehow they're the same. I don't know.
Yeah, somehow the same. It's like, no, they're not. You
No,
know, and then he's cultivated. So he's phenomenal, and he taught me that, and he's taught me a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, it was great having you on here. I need to get Miro on here one of these days. I also need you to come back because I feel like we didn't fully even touch on a lot of things. Like we could have went longer, but I even kept you longer than I was supposed to. So thank you for coming on the show. It's about time. It's long overdue. We still didn't even get to talk about why you blocked me, but that will happen.
We could talk about that. We can bring Miro on and we can both talk and we could talk about that. And then he can, elaborate on how.
I don't know if I want to get in front of Miro. He might kill me. I'm joking. I'm not joking.
Might kill me from telling that story. No, the funny thing about that story, like you have to hear it with me, him, and Jody, because it's like Jody swears he was doing a storyline. Jody's like, CJ.
Maybe we get you and Miro on here, and then we get Jody on too.
Yes, it'd be hilarious.
Maybe a quick one, like 20 minutes. Knock out the story. Yeah.
With me, Miro, and you, and Jody, it'd be an hour and a half.
Fair enough. And Miro's like a lifelong wrestling fan. I feel like we'd vibe about that.
Oh,
but okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being on here. I know you got to go. I know you could stick around if you could. I was long overdue. It was a pleasure. Everybody go follow CJ at the CJ Perry on Instagram. What's your TikTok now? It's new.
Yeah, it's unfortunately my first one got banned. I don't want to talk about it. That will go subscribe.
What's the new one though?
It's CJ Perry TikTok.
And really, honestly, if you really need everything, cjperry.com. Guys, go check it out. Keep doing the thing. Hopefully you'll come back on the show. Maybe we'll do something else that isn't the show. Who knows? But and maybe we'll do it sooner than a year.
100%.
Everyone keep doing the thing, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Ooh, yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
It's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.